Howdy folks, this is one of the first C-clamps I made on a 3D printer, and to this day it still kind of excites me as being a pretty interesting thing because the thread is so cool on it, and this actually spins right here and floats, and the three pieces are printed on a 3D printer. It's a tool, but because of the weather today, we were going to go outside and do some welding and some other tools, but because of the it's a heat index of 116, I decided maybe we'll do something inside today. And I wanted to show you something about when you get 3D printing, you get a printer, there's always, you know what, there's tools to buy after that. Yeah, so, and then of course there's the next level, which would be like 3D print farming, so you can actually make money from your 3D machines. So yeah, and you can start with one machine or have a lot of machines. So it's just a fascinating world, and to this day I can still say I still enjoy 3D printing, and I've had mine for quite a few years now. But let's first start talking about tools with 3D printing. So you've got your first 3D printer, you got your bed leveled up, and then everything's working great, and then all of a sudden your filament starts acting up a lot. The first problem I ran into with 3D printing, and whether it be anywhere in the southern region at least, with high humidity just attacks this darn PLA, and it gets in there and it's like, it's bad. And also this stuff, if it's sitting around, like I have spools and spools of this stuff laying around, different colors that I need for my 3D printing farm, and storing this stuff has been absolutely miserable. I've tried Ziploc bags and doesn't really seem to work, and I tried even a food saver, which maybe we'll come back to that in a minute. But one of the things that was recommended in the early days was go find an old food dryer like this at a yard sale and buy it for, you know, $5 whatever, and you could bake your stuff a little bit before you run it on your 3D printer, which seems like a lot of hassle, and really it doesn't work, because you still have to take it out of this, put it up on the spool holder, and feed it to your 3D printer. So, you know, you could heat this stuff up to dry it out a little bit, or something like a humidity thing, but it was like you're still not getting, not just the moisture, but you're just heating this thing up, and really nothing else is happening at that point. So I highly recommend getting something better for that, a solution, than using a food dryer like this. This just doesn't work, you know. In fact, this one I think we'll donate it to a local charitable society somewhere and send it on its way. It works great, but it doesn't work with this, and it takes up a lot of space on my areas, and space is at a premium with me. But let's take a look at a proper 3D filament dryer. That's kind of like the next tool you might want to look at for a 3D printer. This is a different one. I'm not going to show you the machine that this came with, but I'm going to just put this over to the side. This was a food saver system, which seals it, and also I have a bag of silica in there with it. And you can see the first problem with the vacuum was it actually crushed the spool down. So that was kind of a disaster. Call it a learning curve. I was experimenting with different ideas. And the other problem with the food savers is, so far I've been trying some of these different food saver bags, and they are leaking. Yeah, they're not staying sealed tight like they should. And the final problem is, sooner or later I have to open this and get into it in order to use this, and at this point this bag is no longer reusable. So that's, you know, that's making a mess to the planet, everything, and it's like I just don't agree with it at all. So the food saver idea, yeah, throw that one out the window. Don't even go there. Don't try it. Don't do that. You know, it just doesn't work, you know. So I am going to have to say that something like this is way more environmentally friendly. You're not throwing the stuff away all the time. Okay, so where are we at? We need filament, and at the same time the filament goes bad. So in order to keep a lot of filament around, my solution was to finally ultimately break down and buy a dryer. I had to spend some money. Oh, jeez. And I bought the Sunlu dryer. It was on sale at Amazon at a pretty good price, so it's not one of the most expensive ones out there, but it gives you all the basics. I can set the heat at, like in this case, 30 degrees Celsius. I can set it to run for 4 hours, 6 hours, whatever the print time is going to be. So roughly I have, you know, kept my spool hot, warm, and dry while it's feeding the 3D printer. Not a great thing, but it is a solution, you know, and it really helps me out, because a lot of times I have a small 3D printer farm, and I will get a certain color I need to run off right away and find out that that color, you know, this is pretty good right now, right here. I can feel it's great, but it gets hard and brittle, and it becomes a problem, and moisture has gotten into it. So in order to keep the quality of the print up and fill the order right away, I'll pull this over to the whichever printer is running that job and use this behind the printer in order to get it done. Now there's a couple of problems with this, but it feeds off the front, and this would be okay for, I've got one printer here that's the King Rune. The King Rune takes the filament off the bottom like this and into the machine, so that's fine. It also has one at the top here, but again, usually you feed from the very top of your machine. So what you have to do here is you have to take your filament from here up over the top, loop it over the where it would be feeding through a spool holder, and then down through to get it, which means you've got, you know, a couple of meters of filament before you get to the printer. Yeah. but it allows you to run, you know, if you have a bad spool, which you're gonna, every 3D printer person I know of complains about the spool quality problem, and sometimes it's an old spool that's old stock that's probably been sitting in a warehouse forever, you know, and you get that, and then sometimes you get one that surprises you. I've had them last 6 months on the shelf before they've started to go bad on me, and I've also had a couple come in here where they only lasted weeks and they started to show up with brittle and moisture problems, and it was so it was like, okay, there doesn't seem to be any quality control going on here with these with the filaments. So the solution was to get a dryer. It's got a little fan and a little heater in here, and you can, using the digital code right here with the 2 buttons, you can set it up for, you know, in this case, like I said, 30 degrees Celsius, and for 4 hours it's going to keep that spool, you know, ready to go into the machine. This is just one solution, but you can also get a dual one that has, like, carries 2 spools, that kind of thing, and the price goes up pretty quick. This was a fairly inexpensive one, so I decided to go with that because it was like, it's something I only need sometimes, because most of my spools right now are all in pretty good shape, but with the humidity in southern, in this case southern Texas, but anywhere around the south where you have a lot of humidity, you're going to run into this problem. So that was the solution. I will put a link in the description below where you can find the Sunlu at a pretty good price. It was one of the you know, less expensive ones, and does the same trick. It uses a little fan for circulation inside here and heats it to drive the moisture away from the filament. It's like, that's about, I hate to say it, but it's like, that's all you can do. You know, there's only so much you can do to get moisture away from these filaments. And it is frustrating, especially in my situation where I need to run a certain color and I don't have time to reorder and wait 2 days, a week or something for a certain color to come back in. If I have the color in stock, which I should have, because I always maintain 10 to 12 spools with the colors I need at all times ahead of time before, you know, production, you know, before I run out, in case production has to be stepped up or something all of a sudden for an order. Now, 3D printing farm, you can make some money. You're not gonna make a lot of money, you know, unless you're really, really awesome with whatever it is you're doing. But you can make some money with 3D printing and sell your product. So that's kind of cool, especially if you have specialized products. I find that those things really move really well. The 3 favorite tools that I keep around my printers at all times, and this is the only 3 that I really keep around the printer, but this is a deburring tool, which, in case you have a model that comes off and there's some edge on it or something, you can quickly run across it like this and kind of get any excess garbage away from them. And also, a deburring tool is great around lumber and what have you. Anyways, you can even, you know, deburr something, like if you have an edge on a piece of wood or something. And it's it just spins around. It's got a little knife here and a little follower, so you can sort of, you know, run along and deburr something if you have to take some little edge off or something. It's actually a handy tool. I'll provide a link in the description below where you can find these things. The other thing, always keep a pair of these little snips around. Everybody seems, if you get a 3D printer, a lot of times these come with them anyway, so this is still a big favorite. I love these things around the 3D printer. You gotta have one. They're also good around MIG welders. It's another day for another story, right? And then this is just a little stainless steel brush. And What I have to do with this sometimes is you'll get a little bit of plastic buildup. A lot of times it'll curl a little bit as it's coming out of the nozzle, and you'll get buildup. And if you do, it can run into a lot of trouble. It can cause you a lot of headaches with a 3D printer. So I'll get up underneath the nozzle and do a couple of these to try to get any excessive plastic away, to clean the nozzle a little bit before I go to my next print or something, if there's any buildup of plastic there that I see. So those are really the three, probably the three favorite tools. We'll take a look at some of the other tools. The calipers is something, again, if you're designing and building, which relates back to that 3D printing farm, is you design and make your own part, and then you can, say, sell that part. I've used different websites before in the past, and I'll have to be honest, this year we decided we would try Etsy, which I have used a little bit in the past, but I thought, well, we'll throw some stuff on Etsy. And surprisingly, we've sold quite a bit of inventory on Etsy this year. So that's why I say I have a very small 3D printer farm. I only have five 3D printers that are running the jobs right now. And that's all I need. That's more than I need right now. Because we have basically two products, and all we got to do is swap colors to make the other product. So I have 7 small trains and some hub kits for Mexican train game, for example. And it is just only it's like 2 files. Even one printer can usually run it all off, because you'll run off 10 at a time or whatever it is per print for the little trains, and you might run 2 hubs per run, and you're done with that, you know, at a time. So you don't really, I don't need a lot of equipment or machinery around to keep up with it at this time. The other thing that I do is we also sell some Craftsman parts that were made using 3D printers, and we put the Craftsman plates on. Now they only fit certain ones, which can, you know, well, that's another problem, because not all Craftsmen are the same, so year to year. So I give the dimensions, and that way someone can say, okay, yeah, this plate will fit my saw, so you know, I will order it from him or something. Recently, a friend of mine ordered something in for a battery adapter, and when it came in, he showed it to me, and I immediately sort of giggled a little bit, you know, and says, that was 3D printed. I can see the lines in it, so yeah. They did a nice job, whoever it was. They obviously have a nice machine, you know. But, and also had a discussion about 3D print farming with a fella about the Carbon X and the P1P from Bamboo Labs, because they print really fast. So for a printer farm, that sounds like a solution. But I'm also seeing some reports of issues with the printers, and mostly also the strength of the model drops off with these printers. Because they're printing so fast, you don't get the same amount of strength in them and quality, and that can be a problem. If you're 3D printing, the product you put out, you want a pretty good quality looking part, you know, whatever it is. And so that P1P and the Carbon X become a bit of a, you know, kind of a gray area. Also, as I pointed out to the man I was talking to about this, I have a product here that we make, that we sell online. It will not fit on a Carbon. So in a Carbon X or a P1P, the plates are too small. You need a big printer to make this part. So again, another reason why, okay, I'm not going to go out and buy one tomorrow or order a P1P or something for myself. I have different makes and models of printers in here. I don't recommend that, but unfortunately that's just the way the nature of the beast happened here. I have an Ender 3, I have a Artillery, King Rune. We have a Snapmaker, we have longer stuff I like. It's slow, but man, they do a nice job, and it's like, well, you know what? I don't mind letting the machine run an extra hour or something on a run, on a production piece, because I already know the quality is going to be good, so it's like, yeah, okay, good deal. But yeah, there are some tools out there that you're going to end up looking at after you get your 3D printer. Yeah. So if you're thinking about getting into 3D printing, or if you have a 3D printer and you have some problems, there are tools. Yeah, there's lots of tools out there to buy for all kinds of different activities. And the dryer thing was something I wanted to approach because I went through a lot of different things before I finally decided, okay, we're gonna have to buy a dryer. It's like, that's all there is to it. It's really stupid hot today, and the projects and filming was all scheduled was to be outside, and you can't control weather, so Yeah, this was, I guess you could say this was sort of like a last minute backup idea to, well, it's something, a topic with Sunlu and their dryers. It was something I wanted to cover, so I thought we'd get that out there today. Oh, like always, man, coming up Thursday, I hope we've got some cool stuff coming in. I think we do. Thank you so much for watching Coffee and Tools. Please like, share, subscribe, ring the notice bell, and we will get back with you on Thursday with some tools and, well, other crazy cool things, right? Until then, I'm out of here. Oh, over and out.